Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on using NITRO Studio to replace legacy solutions, outdated solutions like Infopath, SharePoint 2010, or even 2013 workflows, or other legacy systems that you may have in place, and you want to move them off to more modern solutions because these old legacy solutions are being deprecated. So NITRO Studio provides a very good avenue for doing that. So while waiting for a few more people to join, I'll go over some things about the webinar, which you're probably are very familiar with anyway, but basically there is a questions option in the webinar screen that you can put up a question there, and we'll try and answer it during the webinar if we have time. If not, we'll send you an email or contact you after about the answer to that question, but we'll try and get to it during the webinar if we can. So that said, let me go through here. I am Scott Restivo, President and CEO of Crow Canyon Software. We've been around for 21 years, since 1999, building applications on top of Microsoft collaboration platforms. We are a preferred partner with Microsoft, have been for many years, and right now it's in the Microsoft 365 business applications world. We're also a California certified small business. We do a lot of work with government all over, not just California, but also, of course, every other industry too. Education, healthcare, we're doing a lot in healthcare these days. With COVID, there's also education, as I just said, manufacturing, transportation, military. I mean, you name it, we're in that industry, and hopefully you'll accord with what your industry you're in, and we find a solution that works specifically for your needs there. Okay, what we have at Crow Canyon Software, we have business applications. These are applications that run in SharePoint and Office 365 and Teams, depending on what your environment is. It could be on premises, it could be up in Office 365, Microsoft 365 as they call it now. And these are about a dozen applications that will come out of the box and ready to go. People use a help desk, service desk, purchasing, check requests, HR, onboarding, all the kind of common core business processes that we built as applications. Been doing that for many years. Ever since Outlook was out with the public folders, then SharePoint 2007 or 2010, 2013, 20, on and on, all the way to Office 365 and now Teams. So our history with business applications goes back quite a long ways. NITRO Studio is our application creation platform that will show you some of that today and how we have leveraged the environment of SharePoint and Office 365 and now Teams to build some set of tools that you can use to build workflows, a forms and workflow solution, many components to it. We build custom solutions, and now we have well, actually, this is really growing a lot. It's more of the leading edge, but it's becoming much more prominent in our work to do AI and bot service, especially bots on top of Teams. So I'm going to put up a poll to see if people are in Office 365, because the bots, if you're in Office 365, I can go deep into Teams. The bots, if you're on premises, it will be something that is not available on premises due to the structure of the environment of on premises. But anyway, before we go into that poll, let me at least point out a lot of what we're doing is Infopath replacement, because that's really a hot topic these days. Now, SharePoint 2010 workflows being deprecated in November. I mean ending, not just deprecated, basically ending in November, unless you get some kind of extension. That means SharePoint 2010 workflows that run on Office 365 are being cut off basically by Microsoft. 2013 workflows on Office 365 will follow. If you're an on-premise person environment with SharePoint 2013, 2016, or 2019, those workflows will run for the life of the server, because they're part of the server. They're not part of a cloud offering that Microsoft can just shut off like they can with Office 365. But Infopath replacement, no matter you're on premises or up in the cloud, you will want to move off Infopath. It was last developed in 2013, that's 7 years ago. It's very outdated, and there's a lot more you can do with a replacement tool like NITRO Studio that gives you a lot more capabilities in the cloud and mobile world. We have a lot of information, ebooks, and other material on it, because we've been really focusing on this. We even have this Infopath replacement manager, so maybe I'll get a chance to show you that today. NITRO Studio is what we're going to focus on, not the applications, not the custom solution. We'll go a little bit into the bots once I do the poll and see if people are on Office 365 enough. We have a NITRO Studio, has forms, workflows, reporting. You'll see all this. in the demo today as we go through the webinar, and it runs in Office 365, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019, just to make the point that you don't need Office 365 or Teams if you're on premises. If you're on the cloud, you don't need the SharePoint on premises. I mean, it works in either environment. Actually, we got Office 365/Teams environment, the 2013 environment, the 2016 environment, the 2019 environment. We have made it so it works in all those environments as it goes along, because everybody needs those kind of tools inside of their SharePoint environment, the collaboration platform of SharePoint, right? So you have SharePoint Office 365 down the bottom. You have the NITRO Studio as a layer that gives you enormous capabilities and extends these platforms. I mean, the platforms of SharePoint Office 365 serve a good basis with their permissioning, their data structures, etc. But they need a lot more to turn into applications. So we use that, and we turn all our applications are based on our NITRO Studio. Here's a list of a few of them up here. And then we also have this where you can build your own applications or own solutions. And this is where replacing the workflows or the Infopath forms comes into play, because now you have ability to take this NITRO Studio tool and have a full comprehensive tool running in SharePoint Office 365 world to build your own applications and make that very important transition. Okay, that's basically it for the slides until the end. There's some thank yous and whatnot, but we'll just get out of that. So okay, I got dismissed. So here's our website, and just before we go into demo, I do want to point out that we do have a whole section here with Infopath replacement, our modern UI web parts, our form showcase, there are Teams integration, a lot's going on there. And here, for instance, is the Infopath replacement resource page. And what we've done is, because we've been doing this for several years now with a number of customers, we have developed, I guess, let's frankly, an expertise on this and methodologies, and we codified it a bit in this book, which is free to download. It's not gated or anything. Just go ahead and download it if you want. And we have guides on how to do this. So now we even have this Infopath replacement manager that helps you help you manage the move from Infopath or other workflows or other legacy solutions to the new modern solutions, whatever you're going to, and hopefully that's NITRO Studio. I mean, admittedly, there are other alternatives out there. We all know that. There are a number of forms and workflow solutions, but we think NITRO Studio is a real one of the premier ones at a very good cost and very good usability place for you. So here we go, tools to assist. We have NITRO Studio, Infopath replacement. We have offer professional services. So, a number of resources down here, some fun graphics. We have some designers. Jocelyn puts these together, and we have a lot of fun with making up these graphics to make it isn't all work and slogging through the mud. It can be kind of fun, and because you have a chance when you go from Infopath to NITRO Studio to enact some creativity in how the form looks, or make some changes to your processes, or update and modernize. And that's always beneficial to the business to do that, to not just move it blindly from the past to the future. I mean, the past to the modern solution, but also at the time, take the time to consider whether you could revise that, or some new technologies might add additional capabilities that never were there before. And that's where the bot comes into play. The bot is a very important part of the Microsoft Office 365 world. And when you're in that, when you're in that bot world, you can actually rethink how a form and what's the function of a form and how the form should be portrayed. So let me pop up that poll so I get a clear idea, because that helps me give some guidance on where I should go with this webinar. So the poll should be open right now, and if you just mind taking a few minutes to answer that, well, not a few minutes, just even 30 seconds really. We'll get that going here. Oops. Give you a couple more seconds on that. We're collecting responses. I think we're almost there. Okay. It seems like, from what I'm reading on this poll, which I'm going to close, give one more vote. Okay. One more, I think we're good. Okay, we'll close it right there. And I won't display the results, because I'll just say that everybody is on Office 365, but other people, because it's a multiple choice, some people are still in the on-premises world. So I imagine that means you're straddling each world, or you're moving from the on-premises to Office 365. I'll put some time into the bots, and most of the rest of the other things we talk about in this webinar will be applied on-premises, but the bots and the Teams integration will apply specifically to Office 365. Okay, I'll get out of this and go over to some demos. I'm not like going to go into the whole PowerPoint, blah, blah, blah. So let's go talk about what we're doing here. The first thing I want to point out is that inside of SharePoint, I'm just clicking some things, get to the right page. Okay, one thing that we consider is how our workflows and forms, how do they serve end users? How do end users create these tickets and these initiate a request or form that staff of a problem, or maybe a customer's sending in a request for info. I mean, these are where the workflows start, more or less. I mean, this type of workflow, that's a request management type workflow or a service desk type workflow. So we worked with various interfaces that we can do. Right here, you're seeing a portal. We call it the classic design. It works on premises and Office 365. Very, very flexible as how you want this to have. In our portal settings, you can replace the back, you can the background, you can redo the footer, header, the logo, of course, would be your own logo, whatever the wording is, and the menu items. Very flexible, so that what you're giving end users is a very friendly, engaging interface for them to encounter your application. Okay, it's one way to do it. Of course, the users could send an email, and that email would be converted with our email synchronization capabilities into a new ticket. This is an alternative to being on the back end of an HR request system like this, as an example of a more complex interface that admins might want to use to see all their requests. Now, expecting an end user to go in here and create a request through this, well, they could, but the thing is, it is much more, a little bit overwhelming for a lot of times. So we work with a lot of different companies, and some say, that's fine, and only HR is going to create the tickets, or only IT is going to create the tickets anyway. So it's all back end. Well, this SharePoint environment is what people work with. And people can send in emails, and maybe they have no engagement with the SharePoint environment at all. They're just sending in emails, and you're responding through email, and there's this email correspondence going back and forth. Then they wouldn't need any kind of portal interface like this. But if they did want a portal interface, you make a portal interface that can look all kinds of different ways. This is another one. There's somebody came up with this one, maybe for a school education institute or something, I don't know, but that's there like that. And so different ways you can put in the portal to make it look. But you also can go to the modern, if you're in the modern, in a SharePoint, to get to that page, if I can find it here. If you're in Office 365, here it is. If you're in Office 365, you can work with the modern UI. And this is a modern UI portal where it's in a modern look, which means that there's a lot of different ways you can arrange this. If you go into edit mode, CCS mode equals 1, it just puts this into edit mode. You can then go in and arrange this. Now, the point here is that these portals are very much arrangeable or configurable how you'd like them. You could use what we have out of the box, or you can come in and monkey around with it. And when you get into monkeying around with it, you can go in and edit this and make your own creation of what the portal should look like, and how you want the different layouts of the factors in the portal for what's most beneficial for the end users. There could be things you want to show them. Now, what we did with Crow Canyon, we added a number of web parts, that will enhance a knowledge-based search that uses NLP, all these different things up here, report center that can be added to make the portal look the way you want with our modern UI web parts. That comes with NITRO Studio, so you can really configure this one to be look the way you want. So it's just a brief thing about how one interface to moving off of Infopath, one way to move off Infopath and everything is to develop a portal interface, give them a way to look at that portal. I think I just accidentally closed that, and engage with the portal. And when they're in the portal, they will maybe create a leave request in that portal. Now, of course, now we get into forms, right? And this form is configurable in our NITRO Studio to look how you want it to look. This is to me, a very basic, prosaic kind of look. It's very functionary. So it may say the vacation need a week off mid-September. He's requesting a leave in mid-September, right? So request, leave, it's normal. Leave type, you can have whatever you want in your list. These are all configurable. let's just call it unpaid leave. The manager, this is who the manager is, pulled automatically from Active Directory. You can the start date would be, since it's mid-September, we'll make that like the 14th through the 18th, I guess. And this is all set with validation. So if you set the end date prior to the start date, it doesn't make sense. Description of the leave, I don't know. Do you have to put a description in? Probably not. And if we know who it is right here, let's just say go into the lake, right? And yeah, I guess you wouldn't have to normally, but then you could save it. So the person making this request through this portal, it ends up going to the back end. Of course, they can see their request right here. If they look at their request through this portal, they can see the request that they have open. Vacation and need a week, a week off mid-September. It's right here. They can look at it. But from the back end people, they're going to get the request inside their system, the HR people. And now what happens is when it goes from the portal to the back end system, there's a number of workflows that run with item creation. And our NITRO Studio has a whole capabilities of setting up many different kinds of workflows to run, whether an item's created, modified, status changes, it gets approvals, you want to create subtasks, many things you can do when an item's created, and then it starts the process. So it could be by an email, it could be through the portal, it could be somebody creating a ticket directly in here, but the process has been kicked off. So he needs a week off in mid-September, and now I believe if let's see, if it went over to James's here, okay, I'll do it when we do the bots. I see. When we do the bots, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Yes, here it is, because the manager was Pavan. See, this is PK, that's Pavan. 1117, that's in California, right? Just right now, this is not set up before this webinar. This just happened right now in real time. Pavan in Teams got an approval, a request to approve or deny, I guess you could say. The admin account is who I was logged into, who made that request through the portal. Now in Teams, the person can approve and deny it right here and say, do you want to, approve this request to go to the lake or not? And a person can approve it. So you can say like, have a great time, whatever, approved, right? Approved. And I meant to just do that, have a great time. Okay. So there it is. Put in details with an adaptive card so we've, it's a lot to take in. I realize we've gone from SharePoint to web-based portals to Teams integration to everything we need to do to make it so that the process is seamless depending on how you work. If your organization wants to work entirely with the back-end SharePoint like this, you could dress up this interface, put different things in the quick launch, make it how you want, navigation. Then what happens is that as you build your application to replace the Infopath form or the legacy solution you're replacing, you can say, okay, well, we're going to work in SharePoint, and here it is. So, a person comes here, creates a new ticket this way. The form can be, highly modified by the NITRO Studio forms designer. We'll go into that in a moment. And you can make the form similar to that portal form we were looking at, the same thing. The request here's here, the categories is, request leave like we had previously. There's, when we enter this information in, it expands this out because it's a leave request. If it's a different kind of request, it wouldn't need that section. So you're making it very dynamic for the person. On the portal, we knew already it was a leave request, so we added this information in already. It's all it says leave request right here, right? When we go to submit it, go back to the portal home, it says leave request, so the person doesn't even have to make that choice. But on the back end, they were making that choice like this, the SharePoint form. There's the portal form, which comes through here, already pre-configured to some degree as to what kind of category it is. And then there's if you use in the back end, you make the choice, and then it expands and collapses the extra section depending on what your need is. And it's quite cool what you can do with all this stuff. Again, but same information, what type of leave, same drop list, who the manager is, pulled from AD, et cetera, and then submit it in the same process as we've run. If you want it to go to Teams, it can. If you don't use Teams, you're on premises, you don't need to. The person can come right in here and approve it right here. Okay, notice with a link in their email. That's kind of the precursor. The thing most people are still used to using is email instead of Teams. But the concept is essentially the same, is that you are notifying someone that they need to do something about something. They need to do something about something. someone needs to do something about something. So in this case, they need to decide if they're going to approve or not that that leave. Now, if I was in the admin accounts teams, I would get an approval in my teams that says, Pavan, your manager just approved your leave request. But I can also see that if I'm in the portal, and should be able to see it here, I believe, if I come in here and I look at the request. Of course, these notifications would be sent by email to admin account. Admin account is just like a person. It's just treat it like Bob or something. Anyways, but it's an admin account because of the demo. That's what I'm using. But that person would get an email saying that he or she just got an approval. So let's look at the request. All these things are integrated. See the backend SharePoint, the portal, Teams if you use it. If you don't, that's fine too. So here, let's look and see what happened here. View. The person would get a request. Would get an email or Teams notification that they just got approved. So approval, comments, leave status, pending. It hasn't updated yet, but normally it would show up here as approved, there, right there. So, whole thing is like an integrated system. Well, how's all this work on the back end? So we'll go over to our NITRO Studio here and take a look at it. And inside, we can go right in our admin screen. This is available as the application administrator. You as a developer of this application have this tool that's underlying all this yada yada going on about portals and emails and backend SharePoint and Teams integration and blah 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 blah. All that's going on because you are managing this from you're setting it all up as part of your development of this using our NITRO Studio. And you can start from scratch, or you can start with one of our applications, kind of like a template to start with, and then you can go in and make all kinds of changes to that system, that leave request system or HR system, whatever you want to do. And it's going to, here's your NITRO Studio with the HR request. That's the site we're in, is HR request. And here's the forms. Let's look at the forms. Here we have a form. It's a request form. I happen to know the list is request, so you would have a request list. And the request list has a form on it, right? We just saw it. And while that loads, I'll look here. This is the form we're talking about right here that shows up in this HR request list, right? So now we're modifying this form. You can see it has leave type. It has this different characteristics, different format that we just showed when we made that leave request form open in from the SharePoint backend. So you have a tabbing situation going on here. You have different cascaded lookups pulled from different areas. You have tables that set up different, ways you want to lay out the form and how you want it to look and how you want it to act. Now there's different sections, there's tabs, and each tab can have a section. So this section here, which is kind of outlined in those dots right now, has its own settings. So in this settings, we're saying, we want to have number of columns with all these different ways of laying out the form, but there's also permissions of when to show it and when to hide it based on actions that take place in other fields on the form. For instance, right, it says here, show leave request when issue type is equal to leave request. Show that section when the issue type has been selected by the user to be leave request. Now we're going to show it. However, if that's not selected, we're going to hide it. It's not equal, we're going to hide it. Very dynamic, very useful function to take a whole section like this and hide and show it depending on what your selection was made by the user. And the same can apply to the whole tab. And many other ways to set up this form to do that. Let's look at another feature here. If we open up this new form, there's many features to this. And what we say to people who are using Infopath or other legacy systems is simply tell us what you need done, and we could do it. Because I'm just doing a demo right now, and I don't know. Maybe you want this, maybe you want that, or hey, can I do this? Can I do that? A lot of people ask about accessing external databases, for example. So okay, somebody's asking about accessing a data warehouse, some insurance claims provider, and they have something on DB2. Can you access DB2? So it's like those are the kind of questions that we want to be asked, so that we can decide if we can do those kind of things or not, right? We can, but we'll show you how we can do them. So let's go here, my benefits, and see what else we have going on this company policies. Okay, there was one kind of request where it would show that extra forms. Okay, let's see what's happening with that. So we go over to the forms. We go here and look at this section of change type right here, this section, configure, change type, right? So what we want to say is, okay, we have this all configured. Is it an add, a modify, a delete? Who's the new dependent that's being added? When is this going to show up? It show dependent when the issue type equals insurance, okay? So if I go here to all requests and I open this up, the way this function is that if I do choose insurance, it should open up that second section there to show you that that information would be information insurance, right? Yeah, right here. There it goes. I kind of forgot which selection made that made that show up. So now that we're dealing with that particular you know, category and issue type or type of request, now this section shows up that can be, you know, useful for adding that information, right? So that's the kind of thing that can be done. And you can see that also if we go over to our portal. Where was our portal? One of these was our portal. Here it is. And add family member to insurance. It already knows it's insurance, information insurance, and then it shows up the dependent info right here. So, you know, same idea that we just looked at, right? Is showing this section only when it's different, you know, it's the right category and issue type. So that's the kind of thing you can do with dynamic form. And that's all kind of cool and all that. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, that's good, you know, fine. But what else happens on the form? Because that's just scratching the surface of what's capable on a NITRO form. NITRO forms can do a lot more to it. You can design the whole layout with tables. Here's an example of a table. In fact, I'm gonna go into one of our systems where I really get a chance to monkey around without screwing up the leave request system. Because, you know, you guys ever do demos, you'd be really, what happens is you do a demo, you do all these things, and you forget to go back and fix it. And what happens is, you know, next time you do a demo, it's like, where did that go? What happened to it? So what I did instead, I create this one over here that has a place where I can just kind of come in and, you know, kick around in it and play around, get it where I want it, and don't care about if it has to be exactly how it was prior. So, okay, this is an access request system, access to whatever. It could be to a building, it could be to a security, it could be to a database. It's loading up let me see what we have going on here. Access, let's go here, access right here, access request system right here. So here it is. We're just looking at it, looking at the list of access requests, and we'll get back to the screen that's listing all the different particular assets on it. Here we go. So what happens here is when there's a new item created in the access request system, again, it has a lot of dynamic capabilities on it. And I'm monkeying around with this the other day, so let's see what it's looking like right now. Okay, so it looks like this, you know, of course, in real time, you might do things a little differently, you know, put your own logo up here, different access, type of access, add. So here we're adding access, and it's, you know, who is it for? If it's being added, is it perpetual? Is it temporary? When's the start? When's the end date? You know, you might want to only grant access for temporary. If it's temporary, you know, we can have a workflow that runs near the end date saying, please remember to, you know, either reaffirm, you know, like extend, I guess, the permissions or cancel them out altogether. So you're keeping real good track of things with our workflow manager. All this is tied, the forms and the workflows are intimately tied together so that the form serves as an information data source for the workflows. You know, if there's certain issues and category types and access to this, different things kick off and run in NITRO Studio workflows, NITRO Studio custom actions, do all that. But we were talking a little bit about the forms layout. We'll get into a little more of the workflows as we go through this. We have requests that are automatically filled in. We have a set of tasks that can be done that are related to access requests. Once it's approved, we can generate tasks that say, hey, DB admin, give access to Joe, you know, to this guy asking for it, and you know, make sure that gets done with an assigned due date and all that. And you know, all these different things that can be done as part of the necessity of completing this request. So if we go, what I was playing around with section, okay, this is the signature section. You can put an e-signature on it. And over here, I said, okay, let me go over to the NITRO Studio for this access request system and look at the form we're doing here. And this is where it gets, if you're any kind of like power user or something, it gets to be a lot of, I mean, really, frankly, a lot of fun to go in and mess around with the form and see what you can do to get it where it is. And well, being a, you know, basically coders and developers here, we put a lot of stuff in here, and somebody comes back to us and says, you know, Scott, that's me. We really want to see this in the form, and we want to see this in the capabilities. Like, okay, let's build it in and make it do that. Can, you know, jump through hoops and do this kind of stuff, whatever. So there is this tab called Oracle information that I was working on building a table to show that you put a table in here. And as I remember when I was doing this, if I do choose the access of database Oracle, it will pop up that tab. See how that tab just appeared? If I'm in SQL, it'll show up the SQL tab. See, the SQL just appeared. Okay, good. That's cool. And this is in tabs. If I want to do it in sections, I could do it in sections like that other form where it's like section, section, section. This is tab, 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 more of a vertical versus horizontal approach to things. But if Oracle, you could put in like system one, Oracle, payroll system, only give access to the person who's certified in payroll 101 or something. You put all that in and then have the ability to make the form even that much more appropriate. So let's go here and see some of that going on. Let me see if I have anything else about system. So if I want to add a field to it, system one, system two, system, I just made up these names, but say, okay, I don't have a system two. So I want to do a system two name. I go to create a new column, system, Oracle system two. I mean, you guys would probably have more exacting names if you actually did this than I'm putting here, but this is just a demo. So we're just putting some name in here, a single line of text, the name of system two. In fact, let's call that name, system two name, just to keep the terminology consistent with system one. We do okay. And now it's over here, system two name, and we're going to drop it in right here. Well, look, this has the no label. So let's get rid of that label. So I'm going to override the display name. Let's see, where is it here? Show column label. No, we're not going to show the column label. We're going to apply that, and it disappears. Now, if we want this table to be larger, smaller, we can just do that. If we want to make the color behind here like this yellow or something, we could just by going to cell properties and deciding how this cell should look. And then that's how I did the blue behind here. This is just a text, line HTML sitting right here and here. So it's set up that this cell is containing this HTML that's going to run, or you can do it right here in the WYSIWYG right here, what it's going to say inside that cell as a header. You want headers. So a lot of forms you look at have like section headers like this that don't have any field or control, data entry kind of place. They're just, names. So now we have system, so you don't need the label, it's system two. So what you have here is this system one right here, system two right here. And you can do the same for description and remarks and make this table really filled out. If you want to add another column right here for some reason, you want to insert a column to the right, you can. And now we have a column over here that we can do, just showing you the stuff you can do with this. So if you want to go here and copy this code, cancel this, go over here and drag a line HTML into this section right here, go over here and go to HTML and overwrite that code and put whatever words you want to put here instead. If I have remarks, this might be date or something. I don't know. I'm just, whatever you think is appropriate for you, right? So if you do apply, that now becomes date right there. And it should have got the color behind, so maybe I missed something on that. But oh, I know why, because the cell properties set the color right here, not there. So not in the HTML. So we have to get the cell color from here to match the color. We go to cell properties and retain that RGB numbers. Oops. I'm assuming, if you guys aren't, this is fairly simple stuff, and we have the training if you need it to get done. So I'm going back over but if you're reasonably familiar with Excel and things like that, this is not particularly see, it's already there now. Okay, good. This is not particularly hard stuff. So there you go, the date's in there now, right? And if we wanted to add a date field in there, we could say system one date. I don't know why we would, but say we wanted to, system one date. So if you can use imagination of what we want to put in there for the fields, we want date only, standard, no default value. Okay. You can imagine if you have a form and you could send us the forms and what they look like, and then you could see that it's quite easy to put these things together and make a really nice looking form. Again, we want to override the column label here to not show it. And now we have a date right here, and maybe that's too small, so we want to, like that, right? So we add a column, so you can make it look however you want quite easily with this table control we have in the Forms Designer. It's really cool, really awesome. And you could build, you can use just a standard, you don't have to use a table. You could, let me go to another tab. you just drag and drop one of these fields over here. So if you had something like, let's say, priority, you want to put that on the front page, you could. You just drop it right here, and bada bing, it's right there, right? Or is it? Did I drop it there or not? Oh, I think it's already on the form, so it's not going to allow me to do it twice. Yeah, it's already here, so you can't do it twice. I'd have to do something else like, I don't know, approver detail, just to show you can do this kind of stuff. It pops it right in there, and there it goes, and you're done with that. Now, this section right here that we're looking at is another section, default, it's called section. It outlines it in the dotted lines. You can see there's a small table right here with all this going on in it. So you have both the setup of different fields, how you want them in there. Let me pop over for a second to our forms showcase. It's on one of these tabs. This one, I think, right here. And here's our form showcase. And really, where's our marketing? We got to add more to this because there's really so many cool forms we created, and we can make them look, exactly how you want it. But doing what I was just doing earlier, just showing you. Here's, for instance, a Nitro form we did, a W4 form we did in Nitro. It has a lot of text at the top, and then it has all the columns down here. And of course, this is not just forms layout; it's workflows, it's scripting, it's actions that go on behind it. So it isn't just, oh, here's a form you fill out. The actions take place because of entries you put in this form, and when it's either in real time as you put the entries in, or when you save them. You can do all kinds of different interesting forms. Some are more interesting than others, but a lot of functionality and capabilities of making the forms look exactly how you want, how you need for your particular circumstance. And sometimes you have to replicate the form exactly, sometimes you don't. We made it as flexible and capable as possible to do that. Now let's go into a little more in depth in this and switch over to the, I'm actually going to publish this one because it's the playground a little bit. So, I like that Oracle, I like that table I just added. I'll go ahead and add it in to confirm. I think I confirmed it, yeah. To publish that form. I'm even not clicking that right. Confirm. Something's held up. There it goes. Publish in the settings. So if I go back, once that's done, immediately it's available in the access request. But before I go there, I do want to point this out. I should have said earlier, you can actually preview it before you publish it in the different modes. You can preview it on the desktop, on the tablet, and the smartphone, what it looked like there. Pretty cool stuff. So then you go over to access request, cancel this, and we're going to start a new one. Sometimes you have to refresh it to get that, remember it's a new form I just published. But it's the same system here on the back end, but this time it has a new form on it. And when it loads, it's building the form. And if we go to the category of database Oracle, the Oracle thing shows up, and it has this, other areas we just had. Of course, we'd fix this to be all right and blah, blah, blah. But, it's a demo, so I hope you're understanding that this is just, I'm doing it on the fly and showing you the capabilities. Refinement comes a little later, and then you have, probably should drag that table a little smaller. You can also change the form layout. You can, decide what should look right on a mobile device and what shouldn't. All kinds of cool stuff like that. All right, so let's go back to the Forms Designer, which is right here, I think. It's a home Forms Designer. It's right here, I think. Nitro Forms right here. So the Forms Designer, let's go over to the display form and start talking about some of the things you do in edit and display. Because what I'm pointing out here is that you can use the one form for new edit display, 3 modes that SharePoint list items open in, or you can use separate forms for new edit display. But you notice here on the display form, we now have buttons up here and a title that has a placeholder for the ID. So if we do open up an existing form, we'll go back to request system and open up an existing one, you'll see that it has the actual number, ID of 34, and has those buttons that we just talked about, we just saw there. So now we're saying there's actions that can be added to the form. These are user-initiated actions. These are user-initiated, oh, there's some question. Oh, I don't see any question. Okay, I thought I saw a question or a chat or something. Let me see. Oh, someone's just saying we're here to answer any questions you might have during the webinar. Okay. Okay, sorry, I was a little distracted by some chat going on in the webinar, but we can. Okay, here you have the custom actions, we call it, inside of Nitro. You can put buttons, you can put them up in the list ribbon, you can put them into the form itself, and what they do depends on what you construct that custom action to do. These are user-initiated actions. They are user initiated, meaning that they are, you have to click the button. I mean, simply, right? You have to click the button to make it happen. And it could also show up in two other places. It can show up in the ECB, the edit control block, the three dots that are, this action escalate is not a standard part of SharePoint, obviously. It's part of our custom actions that we added on here. And if you look in the list ribbon and the items, you'll see that escalate is here also. If you want to select multiple ones, you can escalate multiple ones at the same time or assign. That's all set up in our custom actions. So let's look at custom actions for the access request system right here. Custom actions is part of NITRO Studio. By the way, there are many, many features in NITRO Studio right here. We can do one-on-one to show you some, if you have a particular question of can it do this, can it do that? Yes, most likely it can, because we've been building this to do, and handle those kind of questions exactly. External databases, dynamic forms, validations, rules, all kinds of fun stuff like that. But here's one thing called Escalate. So the Escalate action will do whatever we tell it to do here in our action. So right here we have a set of actions to execute when someone pushes the execute button. So what we want here is that this is how you configure it to have the title that shows up on, where it displays, it's a confirmation message, and all these kind of details. Also, what conditions it runs under. In this case, it's always there every time a display form opens up, but it could only be available to certain users. In other words, that button and the ability to run that custom action would be available only to a select group, or maybe only when the status is approved, or the status is in pending or something like that, whatever it is. So the button can be shown up either by user or group you're part of, or everyone, or it can be by particular conditions. So then what actions you run when the custom action is pushed, well, there's whatever set up here. And what can be set up is any one of these any number of these, multiple numbers of these actions. You could add a list item, update a list item, delete a list item, upload a document, generate a document, send an email. Very common to send an email, which is kind of a notification and alert capability. You could run a script. It gets a little heavier into the programming world if you want to run a script. You want to invoke a web service, you want to invoke a workflow, and that could also be a SharePoint workflow and also a Power Automate workflow or another one of our workflows. So we really we can work closely with the Power Automate world, and then from the form, run a Power Automate workflow. And we do that with writing the attachment to OneDrive on this access request form is one example of doing that here. And then we have various other things and Microsoft Teams integration. We can create a Teams channel, we can send Teams message or post an adaptive card. This is a lot of capabilities to run your workflows according to what you need to do it. Of course, these are for us like power users, geeky types kind of world where you say, okay, what should the workflow do? The user just has to worry about pushing the button. All you gotta do is push that button, right? Easy. And then it's gonna escalate it. In this case, it's gonna set the priority to high. It's going to send email to James, or you could set it to go to a manager, and it's going to reassign it basically to Pavan, so that when it's escalated, whatever your escalation procedure is, whatever you think you should be done as part of escalation or whatever other action, ticket completion, or maybe it's a purchase order that's been approved and now it has to go over to the finance department. Maybe somebody else, maybe the leave request is the person has come back and now they certified or corrected the dates they were away. Now it goes over to payroll. Any kind of number of things can be done with the custom action by pressing that button, generate an invoice. Really cool stuff multiple things, not just one, could happen at the same time. And another thing that's kind of cool about this custom action, and the same with our workflows, sort of similar idea with our workflows, is that you can decide to run, you can have the action as part of the custom action, but that particular action would only run under its own conditions. So, you might say, okay, for every time you escalate, you want to do this, but we're only going to notify this person when the category is database or something like that. Whatever sub kind of condition you want to put on, this particular action that is called send mail right here, this middle action would only run under the conditions that are set for that action, while the whole action as itself runs under the conditions up here. So it's really, you can be very granular on how you want to do it. Most people don't you don't have to, depends on your workflow. You make it do what you need to have it done, the capabilities inside the NITRO Studio platform to do that. So then you can set up what the mail template looks like and how you want that to look. And, you can go into creating different mail templates on here, and a lot of control over what the message should be. This email on Escalate looks like this, with all these, you can have HTML in here, make it look real nice and pretty for the person who's going to get that message there. So you drill down into the template you're going to use, this email on Escalate template, and then you can send that email out. Or if you're generating a document, this is where it gets, people want very particular layouts sometimes of the documents they're generating, so they can use a Word template, an Excel template, or a print template that you do in our print manager to generate that document and add it to the, whatever you could add it to a document library, you could send it to somebody, you could add it as an attachment to the ticket. So I think, I wonder if these has one of it on it. Let's see if this one has that certificate, because we did this thing of when you generate a document and then you save it and it becomes an attachment, then you could save that attachment to OneDrive once it's, the certificate of access was generated through that generate document function. It generated a PDF. To do that, take a look at this in a while. What does this look like? But you could, this is all configured on how you want it to look like. Well, it's pretty simple. But this is something that was done, and I think in our print manager. But you can make it look, taking data from that ticket, you can generate a document. It works really well for purchase orders and things like that. And then you can also save the attachment up to OneDrive. So all kinds of things you can do with the forms designer, with the workflows, with the reports, with the portals, all these different capabilities inside of our SharePoint, of our NITRO Studio. The one thing that I can also show is, oops, that's my email, is here is go into the bot. Where's the bot? Where are you, bot? The bot is in this one right here. Okay, this one. Here's the bot, the self-service bot. Okay. If you're in Teams, this is a little bit of a Teams bots kind of integration section of this webinar. I mean, I know we're getting on to only about 5 or 10 minutes left, about 10. So I'll go into this right now. The self-service bot, a person come here and work in the bot. So we've talked about interfaces with email, interfaces with SharePoint, using forms, but what's really happening with us in a lot of situations is the bot is becoming more and more a prominent way to engage with end users, engage with different systems. So say hello, bot. Hello, bot. How are you today? Well, hello, bot. Hello, bot. How are you? So this one's set to do three different applications. So where we want to do an HR, and we have a question here that says, what can you do? It has a question or an issue. The person has a question or issue. Okay, well, okay, tell me what your question or issue is. And I need a vacation. I need a vacation. I need a vacation. Let's see if that comes back. I haven't actually tried that. Let's see if it does come back with the information. I think normally I have to type in leave request, but let's see what it does. Oh, there it is. Give me the leave request form. Good. So you're talking, this is totally, the users are just in Teams and they're going here and they're going to click the leave request, and it's going to give them the ability to fill that out, submit it. The leave request, just like we were doing in that portal, right? It fills it out, send it in, and then it's become a leave request in the portal. Well, okay, we won't go through all that because we just did, but let's go here and say, I want to see what I have for open requests now in here. So the user doesn't have to go to SharePoint or the portal at all, except through there. It's okay. You have the vacation in September. Now we're in his Pavon. When I was in his admin account, is when I created that need a week off in mid-September. This guy wants the week off in the vacation in September. And you can see that he came back with this card that says request number 59. Here it is. You can add note, close the ticket, click here to view it in a browser. And if you look back in our system here, in the HR system, if I can find that, here it is, all requests. Number 59 is vacation in September from Pavon. So the teams in this are acting in synchronicity with each other. So you can see there's the number 56. Come on, Kelly. Want to take Labor Day off, 54. Pretty cool. If you're into, if you take a good look at this, what we're getting is that the backend SharePoint, the information is being shown here. And if I did click it, it would open up the ticket just as if I clicked it from the back end. But the person doesn't have to. They can look at the status. They can add notes, and this is what shows up in this adaptive card is up to us to program inside our NITRO workflows, in our custom actions or workflow NITRO workflows tools. We'll do it. You could close the ticket and all that. Okay, that's the and I showed you earlier that you can create a request in here, like if we did that leave request, then it shows up on Pavon's manager or the admin accounts manager as an approve or deny card that the then person could get a card that says I approve this, and then this person gets it back to do that, right? Right? Make sense? Let me go through that again. Question or issue. Okay, I guess I have to go. I'm kind of midstream on this, so let's see if it still does it. Let's just do leave request, and it comes back with that article again, and then we could submit the request that way. So, and then it comes back with that article, the link really over to the request itself. And here it goes. He's putting in this, vacation in October, let's say, just to make it different. Doing it through the portal, and again, quickly, but see the manager is James, and so we'll just say right here, another leave request he's taking the whole month off, right? Oops, wrong month, October, right? Okay, whatever, and this time it's Pavon. The manager is James, so we save it. And now James, who's using Edge, right here, Edge, come on, James. Here's James using Edge, JR, gets a new message saying the casual leave from Pavon, 10/1 to 10/31, he can approve or deny it, right? Pavon, meanwhile, did he get anything in Pavon? Let's see, Pavon over here, right? Pavon's, okay, he won't get anything until James approves it. So let's go back to Edge. This is a demo, so I have to switch hats and play different roles. I mean, I should use, now I'm in as James. Before I was in as Pavon. Anyway, so James is approving Pavon's leave request. Man, I don't know. Go for it. Rocktober. Go for it. Rocktober. So, okay. He just approved Pavon's request. James approved Pavon's request. So here we go. Leave request. I don't know if the voices help or not. Anyway, so now back here, Pavon. He's how I do a lot of these webinars. Pavon just got a approval from James that there is a go for it right here. So you can look, your request is approved, it's right here, and it's all recorded on the back end at the same time. So if something needs to happen when the request is approved, it will go in and inform whoever needs to be informed, HR, et cetera, using those workflows that automatically run. The workflows run automatically. The custom actions I showed you are user initiated. You don't need user initiation if you are want to happen just by the fact of approval that James approved this. You don't want to, you want it to run automatically, and it does. So there we go. He knows it's approved. Go for it. Click to see it in the browser. All within Teams. Nobody had to leave Teams. Now, before in the last few minutes, hey, by the way, if you want to see more and more of these bots, we're hot and heavy in this stuff. We have a webinar actually, hot to trot for a bot. It is cool stuff. If you're in Teams and you really want to advance beyond Infopath to make a quantum leap out of that kind of forms world into bots, and how these can facilitate the operational, facilitate the operational efficiency of your organization. The officials speak there, but it does do it. And this is a great way to go forward. And we're really excited about where this is going and what we can do with this inside the Teams environment. Teams gives us a lot of capabilities to utilize bots. Teams is a channel for bots. We have other Azure bot services running. They use cognitive services and NLP to, and natural language processing is what I'm talking about, using the Azure cognitive services to really advance the ability to do we're leaving Infopath and the other ones way in the dust. I mean, that's like old school, totally old school. People have not quite caught on that this is the way forward. It hasn't matured to the point possibly yet, but it's getting there, and we're certainly a part of that whole chain of events. So here we are in another bot we call the staff support bot, and now Pavon is playing the role of IT technician, let's say. So he wants to say, hello bot, how are you today, Mr. Bot? So it's really weird because, when you start working with bots, you actually do want to have conversations with them. It's kind of like weird, but it's what happens. So he has to say he's in the IT world. Now, normally in a non-demo environment, they would know that already, but we do a lot of stuff in our demo, so we overload them sometimes. So now he's in here. What can I do in here? He wants to see what his tickets are assigned to him. POV1 tickets are assigned in the IT premium or the IT help desk world. We're going to find out what's assigned to POV1 as a staff person. He's no longer an end user trying to get a vacation in September and October. This guy, he wants vacations all the time. But this one is he's working on tickets and he's trying to help us move the service desk work forward in there. So here we are, a new ticket. You can look at the details of it. It's assigned. You could add notes, assign it, resolve it, whatever he needs to do. Now, either he or the end user, if we switch back to the self-service bot and we pretend POV1's the end user again, maybe he does have a question that's related. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to POV1 and just, I don't know if you can exit. Let's try to just get out of this for a second and go back to the beginning. Bye-bye, 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 bye. And then we'll start over. Few minutes, both, okay. So we're gonna go back to help. Just pretend we're starting from beginning again. Okay, what application? We're going to IT here. And we're gonna say now is an IT bot question. We're gonna ask a question. Is a question or issue? And what is this question or issue? Well, let's just use what everybody uses in demos. The printer not working. Somehow printers get the brunt of these demo questions. And before it gives them opportunity to create it, the point here I'm trying to make, before he has the opportunity to create a ticket, it's going to offer him some advice, some possible KB articles that will resolve his issue. So this is where it gets beyond forms. It gets into the place of preempting the tickets in the first place, the support tickets in the first place. Maybe the bot. I don't think I've used this bot in a while. Sometimes they time out, but let's see what happens here. Printer
Hey,
not
Scott,
working.
this is Jocelyn. I'm answering questions on the back end, and we have a couple questions if you want to answer them.
I will. Let me just show
great.
that now. Just one quick thing is that
Sure.
we presented some KB articles for the person to consider before they go enter a ticket. If that doesn't do it, they can go and submit a ticket, and that becomes part of the back end system. Okay, what are the questions? This is where it's almost at the top of the hour, and we can do a lot more with you one-on-one if demo to answer your specific questions. But what questions came up, Joss?
Okay, so let's there's two for bots. One is, what are the ways content and channels in the bot can be filtered to search inside teams? That's a
filters and channels can be filtered. I'm not sure I understand the question. We might have to do that one-on-one.
I'm not either. Okay, we'll follow up with them.
Well,
Another
no,
one.
yeah. I mean, let me just point out that if you're in a channel, see our Teams integration, you can use Teams to create a channel and then have the functionality run in the channel. You can also put our portal right into the bot, into Teams itself. So if you wanted to just run it this way, here you are in Teams, but the portal is right here, inside the channel. Now to filter this, there's a filter right here, filter by team or channel. You could do a filter like HR or something, I guess, or human resources. Yep. I don't know if this, but I think, the understanding is that the bots are running as essentially as another person, you might say, that you're chatting with. The bots can run in a one-on-one, you have a one-on-one conversation. So you look it up and look up self-service bot, and if it's not pinned to the side like ours is, it should show up here as see right here, now you're looking at the bot, but you can just, in a sense, it's like people, it's like a self-service bot is like another person. Well, obviously it isn't a person, but there it is. And now you're talking to it. You did a search and you found the bot. And then what you do is you pin it to the side. You can also have this show up in a group chat. If you had a channel, I don't know if this one's set up to do it, but you could invite the bot to the channel, and then the channel could ask the question, like, what's the status of ticket number 405? And it'll return it just the same way it returns articles and information right here. So there's ways to integrate bots in different ways in Teams other than the one-on-one chat. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I will add to that, this person continued by asking us a little bit in the weeds. We can follow up with them independently. Where does it store its own knowledge data? And is that
Oh,
data searchable? And what if we need
yes,
to correct it?
absolutely. Yeah, that's a really important question. Is that in the the bot can draw information from a number of data sources, but what we currently have going inside of, like, say, one of our systems is we have it in a SharePoint list. The SharePoint
Hmm.
list, well, let me show you. It's a SharePoint list called the knowledge base that you can update, add, and expand on as you need to. We also are working with other outside databases. It depends how you want to construct your bot. The bot can get independent of SharePoint, or it could use other data sources. We're doing stuff in the medical field where it reads sources that are outside of SharePoint. But if you were in SharePoint, you could put it right here and have a knowledge base that is here. Then if you want to new or edit any of these, you can. Different fields of the knowledge base that the bot is using. This is the more or less data source of the bot. But there's a lot of programming using natural language processing that will, you don't have to say the exact words. You can say something using natural language, query using natural language to get back the result.
Hmm.
Okay, I hope that makes sense.
Hmm. It does. And I know time is of the essence. Let's see, there is a few more that I have here,
Okay,
but we
sure.
can do
I'm
some follow-ups.
okay,
One
we
in
can.
regards to the Infopath replacement element to what you're talking about in legacy solutions. Is there any way to remove the default menu on the left-hand side when you were filling out a Nitro form? So for example, you're usually seeing home, recent, recycle bin, et cetera. It's a little distracting, this person wrote.
Well, it depends how you want to go about the form, and that's why I'm making a case for either using the portal
Hmm.
form, or using the bots as a way to interact with the system. So that's wherever that HR portal went. You can see that when you submit a new request here, or one of the buttons you choose, there's no distraction unless you
Hmm.
want to have things up here. So that's why we're exactly that reason why the back end system is a little bit complicated. As I say, and for people, if they want to do a new request here, there's a lot of just like the person was saying, a lot of distraction on all these different
Right.
elements going on here, blah blah blah. So to hide within SharePoint itself, you can do things like this: collapse it. You could do branding and get rid of the quick launch altogether if you wanted to, but then you have to have other navigation elements to do it. So yeah, we can talk about how the person wants to how you want to do it. We do have a branding tool in our Nitro Studio, and the branding tool, say in Classic, gives the opportunity to hide the quick launch. We have all
Hmm.
these different ways of working with the quick launch, and these are details we can go into with the person to get it to work the way he wants. But basically, we have options: the portal, the bots, or you go into branding to remove some of those, quick launch, etc. Okay.
Sure. And then final one, back to this idea of the legacy solution replacement. This is a question in regards to workflow replacement. Does Nitro Studio include custom workflows created in SharePoint Designer or just out of the box approvals and such is what they wrote?
In our Nitro workflows, we can link into the existing workflows, because that's kind of a legacy backend.
Hmm.
Sort of grandfather them in if you want to use them, or maybe you have a lot of ones you created already that are useful. It may be on premises, and you're on SharePoint 2016, 2013, 2016, 2019, and you don't want to replace them. And why would you? Because they're going to run for until 2026 in the life cycle of the server. You could do it more leisurely, but if you come in, or leisurely replacement where the people on Office 365 are more under the gun to get off of them. But if you did, you could go into here in our actions, and in the actions invoke workflow, and the workflows could be a SharePoint workflow that you already have in place.
Hmm. Great.
If we don't have any configured, SharePoint workflows configured on the list with manual start option can be invoked from this action. And we can talk about the specifics of that for an on-premise deployment, how you invoke that existing SharePoint Designer workflow. You can invoke another Nitro workflow other than this one, or you can invoke in fact, we have to change this name to Power Automate. You can invoke a Power Automate workflow, what they used to call Microsoft Flow, if you're on Office 365. That wouldn't apply on premises, but if you were, you could do that. Okay, you think that answers it, Jocelyn? If not, we can take these questions,
I do. Yeah.
one-on-one email.
And we say that we will follow up with people if need be, but that's great. That answers the questions. Thanks.
Okay, well, we hope to have a follow-up and talk to people more and more about this subject. It's very interesting, and the NITRO Studio is a very strong resource, a very strong tool that you can use to get off of outdated legacy programs. We've thought about it a lot. We put a lot of features in. We have a lot of experience doing this for other clients, and we'd be glad to help you out with this. So thank you for attending this webinar, and we will, always feel free to contact us. And if you want more information, we'll get in touch with you. And we have other webinars coming up, and one in September, right, Joss? And then two in September, three in September, maybe another more about bots. We're doing these quite constantly, and we put out a lot of information on our Twitter feeds, also on our website and blogs. And hopefully you'll stay in touch, and we'll be able to work with you on your Infopath replacement or legacy forms workflows replacement. So thank you again. Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.